and welcome back to the FM Realty Report. I'm Roman.
I'm Don.
And on today's episode, we're going to talk about something that's broader nationally and bring it down to our local level, just to kind of touch on broader vision of real estate and what it looks like. So, Don, I have been looking into lately what our country looks like as far as real estate goes.
It's interesting what's going on. Of course, we have a lot of questions going on. There's been some disruption in our economy with things like the tariffs, and it still hasn't settled in, but it does affect real estate because it affects cost of materials. So when you talk about construction, be it multifamily, apartments, single family, it still all affects it. But in general, right at this moment, the national market appreciation, price growth is slowing down. Inventory is up around most of the country. Even though interest rates are high, the expectation is they're going to come down, and we'll see what happens nationally. We'll get to the local in a second. But the other thing that's happening is we see buyers sitting on the sidelines for lots of reasons. They're uncertain. Interest rates are high, as we said. But the interesting and most interesting thing when we look at the market nationally, we here have to look at the market here locally. And there's a cliche in our business, all real estate is local, and nothing could be more true. Because the trend here is almost the complete opposite of what's going on nationally. We have an increase in inventory over the last few months in terms of number of listings on the residential side. But year to date, we're still below last year. So our inventory situation is not as robust as the rest of the country. And if interest rates drop a little bit, which they expect to drop as soon as this month, you're going to see more people coming into the market. But it is a question also of what's going on, and this will be true here locally as well as nationally. And let's talk about the rental market. The rental market nationally is tight. The rental market nationally is expensive. The rental market here currently is even tighter and even more expensive in terms of the rate of increase in rents. Though with Micron coming, we know that we're going to be building a lot of units. Most of them are going to be apartments because that's the only thing you can do quickly enough. And the rents are going to be high. And people are going to have to start making decisions and looking at the cost of rental versus the cost of owning. And when you see our marketplace with rents equal to what they are in the bigger cities, yet our median price is $200,000 plus or minus less than the national median price of $480,000. We're at about $270,000 here. People have to start looking at how can I buy, even at higher prices, because when you start paying, as we're doing here in Central New York, $2,000 and $3,000 a month and more for rent, we got to start looking at what we're doing.
You got to start exploring buying.
Absolutely.
I was shocked. I think the rental rates went up by 30 to 40%.
Absolutely.
There was
if you go back 6 or 7 years, it's up over 50%.
I believe, yeah. I mean, I'm talking 30, 40%. I'm talking about in the last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
I had a house that was renting for $1,200, $1,250 for a 2-bedroom. Now you look at 2 bedrooms and they go over $2,000. To $2,300, depending on the location, condition, obviously.
And that's another thing I want to stress with the rental market here locally as well as nationally. We have not built the number of homes, single families, or apartments and multifamilies in this country that we typically have done. We've not built those houses for over 8 years. The amount of inventory that we have not built is so severe that now people are cramming to build them, but the cost is so high that the rents, a $2,000 rent in Syracuse, almost already is looking inexpensive.
Yes. I was just looking for a rental house for a client. They needed a 3-bedroom, and Liverpool area, 3-bedroom home, 1-car garage, $3,000 a month.
Yeah. I've got a client here in Fayetteville who currently is a long-term tenant at $1,750 for a single-family house in the village of Fayetteville.
That's good.
And that tenant is leaving, and I just met with him yesterday. He said, "What do you think I can get?" I said, "You're going to get 3."
Yeah. Yeah. How big is it?
It's about 1,800 square feet.
Yeah, you can get 3 for
Yeah.
sure. I was curious about what is real estate market worth nationally?
It's a huge number.
And it's $49.7 trillion. I don't know how accurate this is, but this is something consistently I've been finding this number online.
Yeah. This number comes from lots of sources, including the National Association of Realtors, Redfin, Zillow, and they're all about the same thing. It's just shy of $50 trillion. Now let's put that into some context. That's 2.5 times the total GDP of the United States.
That's
The
crazy.
United States GDP is $20 to $25 trillion a year. This is twice that, a little over twice that. And the other interesting statistic there that comes into play when we talk about the real estate market, the majority of that and what that percentage is changes. I've heard frequently it's somewhere in the 60% range, 62% range, are baby boomers. And what does that mean? That means in the next 10, 20 years, those people are going to die. They're not going to be there. And you start talking about 60% of $50 trillion. There's going to be $30 trillion of equity coming into our marketplace starting now for the next 15 years.
It's going to flood the inventory.
And who's going to be getting that money? Most of that money is going to be going to the generation below the baby boomers. What are they going to do with it? Are they going to put it in stocks and bonds and cryptocurrency, those kinds of things? Or are they going to look at the long-term stability and consider real estate?
Well, apparently from my research this week, I found that most younger generation are investing in things like stocks, bonds, cryptocurrency, non-tangible investments. And I feel like...
And investments that are hard to access if you need money.
That's true. Or costing so much more and you don't have financial backing for it. I feel like they're going to miss this opportunity in real estate.
Oh, I do too.
We talked about first step of investing in real estate in our last episode, and I think it could be something valuable for young investors that maybe want to consider that there's going to be this flood of inventory coming in, like you said, next 10, 15, 20 years. Interest rates are beginning to lower. I think consistently I've found a few articles that said next year maybe around 6%.
Yep.
Depends on your score, obviously.
That's the prediction of the National Association of Realtors
Okay.
chief economist is it'll be 6%.
Yeah. So even 0.5%, it does make it. And like you said, if there are investors that are sitting on the sidelines, that 0.5% is going to give them enough return on investment where they'll just jump right in.
The national economist the economist for the National Association of Realtors, Dr. Young, he just had a seminar that we all went to, and his data shows that if the interest rate goes down to 6%, there will be several million more people eligible, close to 5 million more people eligible to purchase a house because of a 1% or 0.75% drop in interest rate. And statistically, historically, about 10% of those come into the market. So if we go down to 6%, we're going to have, statistically speaking, 550,000 new buyers in the marketplace. What's that going to do to prices?
Yeah. In the mix with people who've been sitting on sidelines, the investors, waiting for that 0.5% to drop or 0.75%. So that's something I think if you're one of those listeners right now, you're considering where to put your money or what to invest for long term that's secure. I can see how you can go wrong with real estate.
I know I've been in this for a long time, and we've always said real estate is the best long-term investment for the average person, and I still believe that's true. I believe it's more true than ever. And that's one of the things that you and I, Roman, talked about when we decided to do this podcast, is we wanted to be a source of education. And I'll go one step further, and maybe we can be a source of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And for young individuals who are out on their own, who are paying $2,000 and more in rent, hopefully over the near term, we can educate you enough. You can call us and we can help you get yourself into this game.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into the game is tough. There's no question. You have to have some money. Yet, at the same time, that amount of money is not as much as some people think. I mean, sure, the inventory is tight. Sure, we compete and we have multiple offers on properties. But, when I was growing up, you went and you bought a two-family house.
Mm-hmm.
And you had your rent pay part of your payment, if not all of your payment. And then I think we mentioned this in an earlier podcast. Then when you do better, get better, increase in your profession, you sell the house and buy a single family and keep this as an investment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see enough young people doing that, and I haven't seen enough young people doing that for years, and I don't understand it. It seems like, and again, I don't want to be critical, but it seems like a lot of young buyers want to just jump into that. In our marketplace, $250,000, $300,000 house is their first house.
Mm-hmm.
If they wait to do that, you're going to be behind the eight ball, because that $250,000 to $350,000 house 3 years from now is going to be $400,000,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's going to be $500,000. And if there's anything we can accomplish in this podcast, or if the only thing we accomplish in this podcast is to get our younger generation to really understand the value of real estate, we'll have accomplished something.
Absolutely. And it puts a smile on my face every time I get an opportunity to do this. I just want to mention a quick story. I have a house on the market,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a young gentleman I met with who was curious in purchasing as an investment property. And he ended up not purchasing as an investment property, but him and I had a conversation, and he told me the reason why he was buying as an investment, and I was just so excited. I was like, how old are you? And he's like, 26.
Yeah.
I was like, I am so happy that you're doing this.
Yep.
Please take my information. If you need any future help or consulting or anything like that, feel free to call me. I've been in this game for a long time. I can be a good source for you. I have, since it's been maybe 3 weeks, since he has called me at least 2 times.
Yeah. I've got it's interesting. I had a very similar client. I think he's 24.
Mm-hmm.
And his father, I did business with his father and his mother and his aunt. And his father is saying, oh, my son is thinking about doing this. He doesn't know what he's doing. And so he had me meet with him, and he met with us. And what turned out to be the case is this young man is much more advanced in his knowledge than his parents think. And so they're getting excited,
Mm-hmm.
and now they want to help him. And we're encouraging everything we possibly can encourage. Mm-hmm. Because, let's face it, there's the other side of this coin, which I've always preached. When you talk about home ownership, it's not just about investment. It's about where you're going to raise your family. But it's also about building a community. And some people poo-poo that nowadays, but to me, it's the most important thing. It truly is the most important thing. I agree 100%. And if we just change our statistic, I think the national statistic right now is 65% of the people are homeowners. That used to be 68%, so it's dropped a little bit. If that starts dropping in a significant manner, that's going to have what I believe will be a very negative impact on our social fabric, very negative impact on our communities, on our ability to our cities and our towns to even survive. So this isn't just about a personal investment. Mm-hmm. This is about the way of life we have in this country and quote unquote the American dream, which I think is more important than ever before.
Absolutely. And community is, I can't stress it enough. It's so important being part of a community and,
Absolutely.
and embracing and building that community. ever since I've moved here in 2007, I've got to know more people, became part of the community, volunteered as a firefighter, volunteer whatever I can to help. It shows you see the community in front of your eyes grow, change, appreciate, and like you said, it combines people.
Absolutely. When I first bought my first house, and I look back on it, the transformation in my thinking was monumental. When I was a tenant, did I really care what gas station was going to be built on the corner next to somebody's house? Did I really care about a city rule about garbage collection? No, I didn't care. But once I became a homeowner, and it affected me, and affected my family, and affected my property taxes, all of a sudden, hey, I got to be involved. I've got to get involved. I've got to be a citizen and do my job as a citizen. And as a tenant, that need or that day-to-day impact isn't as strong as it is if you're a property owner.
That's true. There's no attachment.
There's not the attachment.
Yeah. And while back, I've been trying so hard to find benefits and information, what to do to have younger generation wanting to stay and own a home.
Right. I was reading an article just a week and a half ago, I believe it was in the New York Times, although I'm not 100% sure of that, where there was a comparison being done by a financial analyst of renting versus buying. And the argument was that it's tilting, that it's better to rent. And I found it very interesting that the entire approach was purely economic. It had nothing to do with quality of life, had nothing to do with community, had nothing to do with the impact of tenant versus property owner in a community. And I actually wrote to the author and said, you're not telling the whole story.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. Some of the stories are just one-sided.
Right.
So if you're a young listener, I hope that, or not young listener, just somebody maybe just starting to get an itch for an investment. Hope you gain some information here that is valuable, and you have two people here that can help you to get started. And this is important. This is something that when we today look into some of the homes that baby boomers have purchased, that there is now no mortgage, they bought it for $35,000, now it's worth $230,000. This is the beginning of that.
This is the beginning of that, and just going right down that road, Roman, right now, single-family residential real estate might be, in central New York, the best investment you can have. Mm-hmm. Properties are going up at 8% minimum, 10 and 12% regularly. Where else can you get that return? Mm-hmm. You can only get it by owning the property.
Absolutely. Well, we hope that you've gained some interesting information here and continue to listen to us and get in touch with us. It's in the description of this episode, and hopefully we can give you some help in your new venture done.
Thank you.